Good afternoon to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here. It is Monday, the 14th day of February 2022, and you've tuned in to the off-season edition of our old hurricane outlook and discussion. And we got a lot to talk about today regarding the upcoming hurricane season. Some new stuff to show you related to that. We're getting closer. Once we close out February, which is only a couple of weeks away now, we'll be into early March, and at that point in time, we'll be about 90 days away from the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. That's hard to believe, only 90 days away in just a couple of weeks. It's all in how you look at it. It helps to keep us going through the winter. Plus the fact that it's been a very busy January before these last couple of weeks, and it's kept me very busy. All right, so let's get on with it. Take a look at a tweet here from Phil Klotzbach, our good friend Dr. Klotzbach, mentioning in a tweet a couple of days ago now that NOAA reducing the odds of El Nino for the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season from 25% with their January outlook to 17% with the outlook issued today. That was back on the 10th of February, so this is 4 days ago. Atlantic activity usually is reduced during El Nino, so this lowering of about 8 points there from 25 to 17%, suggesting in this time period right here that we would be in more neutral conditions. Even La Nina is, gaining a little bit of steam there, if you will, towards, the potential of holding on to a weak La Nina in August, September, October. Not out of the question that could happen. Now, where are we talking about? We're talking about this region right here in the tropical Pacific, where we look at what we call the Nino 3.4 area. These are all the rest of the Nino regions across the vastness of the tropical Pacific, but this is the specific area that we are watching and that these models are showing data for. And when this is warmer than average, you get a lot of upward motion, and the air rises over the Pacific, sinks in the Caribbean and the western parts of the tropical Atlantic over here, and you tend to get drier air. For one thing, sinking air dries out. You get vertical wind shear, the difference between wind speed with height. And for hurricanes, they don't like that. You got to have everything basically vertical so you can develop very deep thunderstorms or convection and not have them blown across, like a candle. If you blow out a candle, that's it. Too much wind blowing across the surface of that candle flame, and it snuffs it out. The same thing with hurricane activity. And the lack of El Nino continues to be the theme here as we get towards, again, we're a little bit more than 100 days away, but once we get to March, right, we'll be at 90 days away, so we're getting closer. And this is where we're talking about, this area right through here, which is currently still in a weak La Nina state. The Atlantic basin definitely running warmer than average all through here. The eastern tropical and subtropical Atlantic quite a bit warmer than the long-term average. A few colder areas here in the Gulf of Mexico. We can zoom in and see that a little bit better. That's because of the pretty active winter pattern that we've had lately. Cold air draining off the continent down here, and the wind coming off the continent, stirring up those shelf waters, and this will rebound quickly once we get into March, I do believe. And you still have the very prominent loop current that's worked its way up into the Gulf there, coming out of the warm Caribbean. And I like this graphic because you can really see the delineation here, this gradient in colors of the different sea surface temperature anomalies. And most of this in here is 1 degree Celsius or higher above the long-term average. And it won't be long, let's say once we get into March, I'll start looking at the individual graphs that Dr. Levi Cowan has on his website, where it plots these different regions in graphical format. So not just looking at it from a map and a color gradient, we'll actually look at it graphically printed out for you, and we'll track how this is going. But the Gulf, yes, the shelf waters have cooled off, but the central Gulf there is still quite a bit warmer than the long-term average. And we can see that, that was an anomaly map. This is actual sea surface temperature data. And there's that 26 Celsius line still holding on. It's gotten chiseled away a little bit, but there's 25 Celsius. I mean, that's pretty warm. That's upper 70s Fahrenheit. So if you took off out of southeast Louisiana or out of Gulfport and went out in your yacht and jumped in down here, it wouldn't be too bad. About 77, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not the best, but that's pretty warm overall. And I think that is going to really help to funnel a lot of energy and moisture-laden air into the lower 48 excuse me, lower 48 when we get these big highs off of the Atlantic there, in the western Atlantic, the western Atlantic ridge, when that builds in strong in the springtime, and heck, even in the next few days, that's going to lead to a big severe weather problem, I think, as we head towards spring, and even this week, which I'll show you towards the end of today's update. In the meantime, winter definitely made a comeback this year in the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, so the temperature gradient here is still pretty strong. It definitely increased over the last few weeks because of that pretty robust winter that we have had. There's 7 Celsius, even colder than that around the Cape and Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, and here's in Long Island Sound. Some of those purples there getting close to 33, 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 to 2 Celsius. No, thank you. I don't even know if the great white sharks would like that. I'm not a shark person, so I don't know. Maybe they do, but that's too cold for me. But it is warmer. Go back to the anomaly map. Despite how cold it is in reality, the anomalies up here, the departures from average, still several degrees warmer than they should be, which is remarkable. It's like, darn, it's cold, but it's still warmer than it should be, despite how cold it actually is. So winter's almost over, though. That groundhog, nope, not having it. Not going to have 6 more weeks of winter. I think it will ease out of it. A couple big storms coming, I'm sure, before all is said and done. But the big Arctic air masses, I just don't see it happening. Maybe 1 or 2 short intrusions, but we're pretty much done overall, and we'll start to reverse these temperatures in the coming weeks, which is what we're supposed to do. That's the way things progress in any given year. So I hadn't shown this in a while. This is our vorticity signature. Most of the energy here is still in the higher latitudes, coming down out of the plains, out over the Atlantic here. Not much energy or spin or vorticity down in the deep tropics. Just a little bit that comes off of the mountains of Colombia in South America. And these little impulses will work their way across the Pacific. It's interesting how the geographic shape of coastlines and the geology and what we call the geomorphology, where you have mountains and then the oceans down there, and just everything works together to create localized conditions. You even have this, what are called gap winds down here in the Gulf of Tehuantepec, this narrow area, this little gap where the Bay of Campeche and the Gulf of Tehuantepec in Central America come close together, and you get these gap winds that come through there when the flow is just right. And you can actually drop the water temperatures in that area significantly due to the wind just screaming through that gap, so to speak. Just a little trivia for you, educating you a little bit as we move through today's discussion. But the bottom line, nope, we wouldn't expect much energy in the deep tropics right now, but I just wanted to bring this up. We'll start watching this in about a month or two just to see if anything starts to develop. And some of those tropical waves, do they get started early this year? We'll start to watch this. This will be one of the tools that we use going forward. And, of course, we'll use this. That is a satellite picture. So is this. This is just a different version of the other one. This one shows us what we call that true color in the daytime and shortwave at night from Dr. Cowan's site there, the Tropical Tidbits. Really nice satellite animation here showing pretty clear pattern across much of the lower 48 today. Deep tropics, nice and clear for the most part. So if you've got a cruise planned or you're just visiting down into the islands, it's going to be really nice. Some pretty good trades blowing through. No major storms, no upper troughs this week like we had last week, I think it was. Dropped all that rain in Puerto Rico, U.S. British Virgin Islands, and the eastern parts of the Dominican Republic. Don't have to worry about this time around. Your tanks are full from that very hard period there of freshwater flooding from that upper trough. And a little bit of cloud cover over the Gulf of Mexico, but that's low clouds. Some upper level winds moving across through this way. But that's about it. You can see some snow cover on here. If you look closely, that's all snow cover. The Rockies have some snow cover. I think that's White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, so that'll always be there. There's the Sierra with dwindling snow cover. I hate to say it, but we need a good storm to come into California about like this, tapping into some subtropical moisture. Don't see it happening anytime soon. Maybe beyond the 7-day time frame, some more storminess for this region. We'll have to see about that. We'll talk about that next week. So let's go on to the forecast here from the GFS. Lower 48 weather, and we put this into motion frame by frame. A little bit of storminess coming into the Pacific Northwest, but nothing substantial, no powerful blockbuster systems. That energy drops into the southern plains, and a little bit of snow for the Front Range because of that, and the big high coming out of Canada. And then, boom, off we go with a pretty potent storm system. Snow, maybe blizzard conditions, severe weather in the warm sector. That low-pressure area rides up to the northeast. Now, why isn't it cutting across? Well, let's use a color that we can see. There we go. Why isn't this cutting across and doing like a Miller B or a classic Miller A? Well, look at the clues. Look at what we see. This is the Western Atlantic Ridge sitting over there. I can outline it for you even off the chart here. And that is blocking everything. So a nice strong Western Atlantic Ridge shifting the storm track so that it's more like that instead of coming down with a big old trough sitting over the east where the ridge is farther out to sea, or up into the North Atlantic where you have blocking and these systems can ride up the coast. That pattern is no longer with us. So now we're in this pattern with the ridge being stronger in the Western Atlantic, closer to the U.S. mainland and North America as a whole. So the storm track is more to the northeast with time. And so you're going to get these plains storms, Great Lakes storms, that kind of thing, wet, stormy, even severe weather risk on the warm side of these. And then a little clipper system. This is out at about 108 hours. That's the clipper system right there. That drops in, scoots across the border states there of Canada and the U.S., maybe some lake effect snow. After that, now we're out at day 6 and then finally day 7. There's that hint there at day 7. Maybe some upper level energy coming in off the Pacific, an upper level low. We'll watch this and see, does this drop in? Is it potent enough? Can it get the southern jet and the subtropical moisture involved to give us a big storm out west, the Rockies, the Intermountain West, that area, the Sierra? That would be great because you need it. We're getting towards the dry season, and that's all going to get shut off, and it's going to start getting hot and dry, and we're going to have a wildfire problem again. So let's squeeze out some more moisture before all is said and done, if we can make that request to Mother Nature. All right, severe weather season, not far off now. In fact, it'll start happening this week. Just a few random general thunderstorms, nothing, just a marginal risk here in parts of, look at that, northwest Nevada, northern California, and a good deal of western Oregon. Just a few random, as I said, scattered thunderstorms, nothing to be too concerned with, but they are there. So some lightning at the higher elevations, telecom sites, that kind of thing, and the peaks up there if you're driving around, mountain passes, that kind of thing. Tomorrow, though, no thunderstorms at all. That might change once we get to tomorrow, but at least from today, nothing forecast. Then, as our storm system moves out of the Rockies and starts to take shape along that path I was showing you, that's the warm sector. And down there, slight risk. This is it. We're getting towards the start of the tornado season, and that warm Gulf, we got that big area of warmth right there, and the overall warmth of the Gulf as a whole, that strong Western Atlantic Ridge over here that I was telling you about, pumping in the moisture to these storm systems that are dropping out of the Rockies. That's going to be the setup for some severe weather this week and probably going forward. Eventually we will see that setting up in the Great Plains, the typical Tornado Alley area, probably a pretty busy season in the Dixie Tornado Alley region, and then many points in between. It isn't going to shock me at all with the La Nina pattern and the warm Gulf. I think we're going to have an active severe weather season compared to the last few seasons. We'll see. See if I'm right about that hunch. So anyway, that's the day 3. And then beyond that time frame, it shifts to Dixie, as we say, or the Deep South. Days 5, 6, 7, and 8, the probability, etc., a little bit too low for the Storm Prediction Center here to issue any outlooks. So just pay attention to this. It's coming. Got the severe weather season getting ready to ramp up. Pretty potent storm, going to impact a lot of people midweek. Again, the storm track shifting because of the strengthening Western Atlantic Ridge. As we get closer and closer to spring, that's going to become more prevalent. And then maybe, as I said, we can at least shift the pattern enough to potentially get some more moisture for our friends out in the western states where the drought continues to be a big problem. All right, don't forget, we are on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're new to the YouTube video here, subscribe, like the video. That helps the algorithms, or so I hear. And subscribe, join in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button if you want to know when Mark posted an update. We do these once a week, at the very least, during the off season, sometimes more frequently than that. And if we ever go live, you want to know about that when we stream from the vehicle, covering winter storms, spring storms, and of course what we're known for, and that is hurricanes. Now, we are supported through Patreon, our crowdfunded project, which has grown substantially over the last 5 years. And I am very happy to announce a new level. The $1 level sold out, and we now have a $4 level. I just wanted something different and a little arbitrary, and we have added Discord to all the levels at the $4 level and up. So at the very least, you get access to the Discord channel that we've got, the Hurricane Track Discord. It includes the benefits there. All of the existing members, you guys, it should have kicked you in already. If you're already on Discord, you're in. So check it out. We're on Patreon. It's a really neat crowdfunded project that you can be a part of, help to shape what we're doing. We have close to 700 annual members right now, which is huge in helping to fund what we do, making everything we do possible. People hands-on with us, developing projects for us, donating equipment. I'm just the guy in front of the camera, like the band leader or the conductor of the orchestra. Everybody else on the back end, from the folks that watch on social media to our patrons that actually finance this through the crowdfunding effort, you're the ones that make it happen. And we're getting close to hurricane season and severe weather season. We want to be ready. So I'll promote it, pretty often coming up as we continue to grow it, especially with that Discord. It took me about a year to get comfortable with it myself. I wasn't sure what it was all about, but apparently in the gaming world, it's huge. And now I am a believer. So we got the Discord now. So get on there, check it out, and become a patron. It's patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. Easy to find. Get the Patreon app. They got an app themselves. You can go to the website and just do it all through there. Search Hurricane Track, all one word. Hurricane T-R-A-C-K, if I can say it. All right, you guys have a great rest of your Monday and a great rest of the week ahead. That's it for me for today. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We'll talk again in about a week.